To steal Fran's phrase, by gum, welcome to Leeds Part 2. Apologies already to all the people in the north of England. We're back up north and we are discussing Kaiser Chiefs as overrated and the music as underrated. Little background info, we actually haven't recorded the music underrated section yet, but I am on here already to tell you that we missed out a key fact when we talked about the Kaiser Chiefs, which was that their debut album, Employment, was nominated for a Mercury and won an Ivor Novello Award, which was a very surprising fact to us. While we might have picked the Kaiser Chiefs as overrated, Fran has put together a quite wide-ranging playlist from employment days to the modern day, and we were both surprised to see how much their sound has evolved since. So yes, they are a big band from the arguably indie landfill era, but the discussion is a bit more nuanced than you might think. We hope you enjoy.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, what are we calling this podcast?
Was it over underrated?
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
Welcome to another episode of Over Underrated. This is Babs, and I'm here with my co-host Fran. How are we doing, Fran?
Hello, listener. I am...
Listener? We only have one.
Well, do you know what? They say you should speak to the person listening to it as if it's just us and them.
Okay, good.
Be
Good
personal.
technique.
Be personal.
Hey, you. Yes, you.
Thank you for listening to us. Unless you are listening with a family, and then hello, listeners.
There we go. That's the caveat we needed there.
I'm fine. Having a black tea for the vocals and caffeine. Babs, what are you drinking today?
Well, so I thought I was going to go and make a lemon and ginger tea because I'm warding off a cold. However, I got confused and pulled out a decaffeinated Earl Grey.
Oh, no.
Which is fine because it's decaffeinated, right? It's not going to affect my sleep.
But is it
I've added some bergamot. Sorry?
A bit limp, though.
Well, I've put some oat milk in it, so it's okay. And I've added some bergamot honey because I'm a cunt. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's good. It's very lemony, which should help with warding off a potential cold, hopefully.
The second time that honey's been mentioned on a podcast we've done this series.
Oh yes, possibly the same bergamot honey. So keep up the tally.
Sponsorship coming soon.
Coming away from Bergam. What have you been listening to this week?
I opened up my phone to check. It tells me I've been listening to an Icelandic singer-songwriter called Junius Mavont.
Oh, don't know them.
Neither did I. Until this week. The new single by The Hold Steady, a former podcast mention, a band from Australia called The Middle Kids, and Pink.
Ah, yes. Yes, she has a new album out, right?
Yes, it's quite poppy, as she does that occasionally, and I quite enjoyed it.
And have you seen who's supporting Pink on her tour, by the way?
Hit me.
Previous mentions, Group Love.
There we go. It's all tied together beautifully.
There we go. I thought that might be why you've been listening to Pink, because I saw Group Love promoting it on their Instagram account.
Okay.
There we go.
No, I secretly, no, not secretly. I like Pink. I saw her live. She's amazing.
Oh yeah, what time, what period?
It was just before Paul McCartney at the Isle of Wight Festival 2010, I think, and she did that. And even noticed at a festival, she did the whole circus thing.
Wow, that's impressive.
Trapeze and cannons and all that malarkey. And she even dropped out the sky for the opening number. Which ain't bad since she's supporting. Like, if it's the headline that, but supporting, I was not expecting all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a circus tour, and I bloody loved it.
Yeah, so with Pink, I quite liked her R&B songs at the beginning when she had the pink hair. I liked Misunderstood era of Pink with the slightly less pink hair.
I'm lying here on the floor,
just like a there's a song on that album called Vietnam, or like My Vietnam, which is very weird because it's like going, "This is my Vietnam," and you're like, whatever it is that you're referring to, I'm sure it isn't that bad, but it's still a catchy song, so you just you kind of filter it out. But really, apart from the Charlie's Angels song that Beck co-wrote,
Trouble.
No, not Trouble.
No. Oh, no, yeah.
Real Good Time. Feel Good Time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Beck wrote it with William Orbit. Like, what a collab! And to give it to Pink as well. But since then, I think her singles, like the big ones, like So What, God Is a DJ, it hasn't quite clicked for me. But I think she's had so many albums and songs that I'm sure, perhaps, she's a future act we could cover.
Could be, yeah. So, how about yourself?
Well, I have committed to going to the Best Kept Secrets Festival in the Netherlands with our previous guest, George, in June, which I'm very excited about because I haven't been to a multi-day music festival since Rockhack in 2015. And that was only 2 nights, whereas this is going to be, 3 days, so probably 3 or 4 nights. I am going camping. I hate camping. I am now 35 and have back problems. So please send me warm wishes and tips, because what I've decided to do is basically like every week, as much as possible, I want to do 1 Pilates workout and 1 low impact workout to try and prepare myself for being on my feet all day and sleeping on an uncomfortable air mattress.
For me, it's a deal breaker. I cannot camp anymore.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think your back problems are significantly worse than mine. The problem is, right, so, the ticket was not cheap. And they did have that thing where, they had I think they called it cozy camping, where they would put up a tent for you. But the cheapest option, where they would put up a tent for you but wouldn't provide you with an air mattress, so you'd have to bring that anyway, was €60 per person. I'm like, I would rather save €60 and bring a tent and an air mattress than, or pay 100 and bring either. No, I'm just the randomly Scrooge side of me won out to the practical older side of me this time. But yeah, I'm really excited because I went for it because I thought, well, it's not too far from here, and it's just lots and lots of bands that I would kind of love to see in a gig context. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Chemical Brothers again, seeing Jockstrap, previously mentioned Destat. I think they're there potentially on 3 different days playing their 3 different EPs. So it's like Destat Blue, Destat Red, Destat Yellow, which is pretty cool. Pongo, who I previously mentioned, Nation of Language, that, we discussed. So, I mean, I could go on and I won't. I don't know if you've seen either of the bands live that we're discussing today, because we are traveling back up north. I'm sorry, to Leeds. It's Leeds Part 2.
Eat by gum, it's a podcast.
Eat by gum, all the offensive stereotypes off we trot. We are discussing the Kaiser Chiefs. Are they overrated? And the music, are they underrated? So yeah, I think why we've picked this as a topic and just the 2 of us today is because Fran and I have talked loads about the music including on other podcast episodes. Although when it came to making the playlist, I thought Fran was a bigger fan than I thought, but it turns out not. So I've made the playlist for that, and I had to go off and do a bit of a re-listen of their 3rd album, let's say. But that's we're coming from, the 2 of us think they're an underrated band. And the Kaiser Chiefs, well, Fran, you made that playlist. So what was your thinking behind that?
I don't actually own an album by the Kaiser Chiefs, although I have seen them live a couple of times, and I just thought I will just sprinkle songs over the 8 albums they have now. I chose maybe like 1 per album. I think I didn't have anything from Stay Together. But you get the idea of the band evolving over the past 20 years.
Yeah, should we get into it?
Yeah, why not?
Overrated.
So I think coming into this, if someone had asked me, do I think the Kaiser Chiefs are overrated, I would have said yes, despite really, really enjoying Employment, their 1st album. I think it is kind of an unskippable album, pretty much. And I sent Fran the cover version they did of Oh My God during the pandemic, that they kind of updated the lyrics to I've never spent this much time at home. Lots of references to like Joe Exotic and hand sanitizer. Very, very nice stuff. But yeah, I think one of their songs, which was on the playlist, became such a smash that it was quite overplayed. And after that, the singles that I heard, I wasn't so keen on. But yeah, I think I knew maybe 3 of the songs. No, 4 of the songs on this playlist, and none of the others. And I was surprised, I have to say, at what was on offer.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because out of that, what people now call the in the landfill era, they probably are one of the only bands who have kept going at heights. Like, they're still playing arenas. Like most of them, like for example, Razelight were supporting them last time I saw them. They were
really? Wow.
There was literally the last gig I saw in 2020, maybe like 2 weeks before the lockdown, and Razelight were supporting. And probably 2005, they were like equal.
Yeah,
they were like both headlining festivals, weren't they? So it's interesting, like, because let's think of 2005. You put the biggest bands, probably like Franz Ferdinand, Razelight, Kaiser Chiefs.
Arctic Monkeys, yeah, or was that next
right,
year?
yeah, maybe Arctic. Yeah, so maybe Arctic Monkeys are also from Yorkshire. Are the only other sort of bands from that era who are still at a high level? But yeah, like Franz Ferdinand haven't had a big hit for like 20 years nearly. Well, no, that's like 15 years maybe. As in like a radio hit. Like I think after the second album they haven't had a hit single.
No, they Ulysses and Know You Girls were pretty.
I don't know, but yeah, so Kaiser Chiefs have done well, I think, to keep it up. Like they have broken through to the normal pop stardom kind of thing.
Well, I think Ricky Wilson going on The Voice is key to that, because when you look at some of the YouTube comments, it's like, oh, I didn't know Kaiser Chiefs was seeing Ricky Wilson on The Voice. So that was a very savvy move.
Speaking of that kind of thing, are you aware of The Masked Singer?
I am aware of The Masked Singer, and he was on it recently, wasn't he?
He finished second to Charlie Simpson from Busted.
Ah, okay.
That does help, I guess, the brand Kaiser Chiefs a little bit. He does appear on a lot of people's podcasts. He was a Radio X presenter for a little bit as well. So yeah, maybe that all helps. But I personally, like, when they first came out, I kind of found like, oh my god, and I put it to Riot annoying. And like I liked, other songs from that album. I think like
Modern Way.
Yeah, the Modern Way I think is their best single. But then that was like the fourth one. So by the time it's like left deep down. But yeah, I didn't get it. And when Ruby came out, which you might mention in a minute, I was not on board at all. So yeah, I've always found it fascinating why they were like basically almost playing stadiums.
Oh yeah, so yeah, for me, no, I really liked I Predict a Riot and Oh my god, especially kind of in a way strangely, even though Oh My God might have been the first, I feel like that's a bit more of an underrated Kaiser Chiefs song now, because I think people associate it more with Every Day I Love You Less and Less, I Predict a Riot, and then the songs that came after. And yeah, it was really funny to watch the music videos for some of these songs and be like, God, in Image, how much especially Ricky has changed as well. He's wearing like eyeshadow, he's got a nose piercing in the videos, in some of the early videos. For me, it is so entrenched in my university experience. Like that album, that whole thing, it was like, yes, this is part of my soundtrack. Like I even remember at the university pub quiz one time, we had like an intros music round, and they picked Saturday Night, which is an album track from Employment that starts with like a motorcycle revving. And it's like, that's pretty.
Whose motorbike was it?
Who knows? Does Ricky ride a bike?
It's Graham Coxon from Blur.
Seriously?
He is credited as a motorcycle artist.
They didn't ask that question in the pub quiz. Oh yeah, what a shame. But yeah, I was thinking like, I was like, I know the Kaiser Chiefs are big and I own that album, but it's like, I couldn't off the top of my head at that point mention that song, but that's how big they were, that like in a university pub quiz that wasn't the most kind of challenging in the world, they would have that as a musical option, even though it was an album track.
I guess they were at the start of the indie boom. Like, yeah, they were one of the reasons why I guess so many bands were signed, because of how big that album became,
Definitely. I also think part of the appeal is their lyrics, especially I Predict a Riot, painting that whole picture of a night out. Also teaching me what the word Leodensian mean, which is someone from Leeds. I remember having to look that up. I was like, the fuck does that mean? In what the lyrics in one of the songs that we're gonna talk about soon. I think, yeah, as again, someone who doesn't pay much attention to lyrics, like their lyrics paint a story, while at the same time, yes, okay, they're an indie band, but as you read over and over again, they're influenced by new wave and punk, and you can kind of, especially the new wave, you can feel that coming through, that they don't just have, it's not just guitar, bass, drums. They will often have piano and a keyboard and a synth, and they layer it in sometimes in ways that you don't expect it. Fran, what's the first song on your playlist?
So I am starting with their debut album, and I haven't gone for the big two. So I've gone for Every Day I Love You Less and Less, which has 13 million YouTube views, guys. YouTube, to keep that in mind when we get to the next band. So yeah, I mean, was there too many? We've got a gimmick! How many times on the album is it? Is it 4 or 5 maybe?
I haven't counted.
It does seem a little bit too much for me. Yeah, I enjoy the Devo backing synth. It's catchy as hell. It's got like this deep, menacing bass line. And although what is interesting with the first album is like, like I said, it's more new wave than indie because there's barely any guitar. It's more synth bass and vocals, isn't it? Rather than like heavy guitar lines.
Well, there's like an occasional riff.
Yeah,
like with oh my god, it's like
it kind of like accents it's all about the melody.
And the vocals.
Yeah, and lyrics like "Can't believe once you and me did sex." I mean,
that is a good lyric. That is a good lyric.
Would you say we did sex?
If I was talking about it poetically, perhaps.
the video, I've got no idea what the X-ray specs is about and what.
Well, I wrote ripping off 80s Matchbox Psychosis Safari because it literally says X-ray vision.
But what year? But it's 2004.
5.
Oh, 5 is it? 5.
And that Psychosis Safari is 2002.
Ooh.
Guys.
Controversial. How many views has Matchbox got? Not
Good
13
question.
million.
Oh, well, it was the Edgar Wright music video. So let's see. Psychosis live Google. Oh my god, you're right. 92,000.
Ouch.
Oh, although hang on, there is more than one video. And so there's another video that has 43,000. So yeah, okay. Well, we're getting to closer to 100,000. That's it. That is shocking. Shocking, guys. Have a word with yourselves.
But yeah, I mean, I still enjoy the song, so I can still listen to this. If I heard "I Did to Riot," I might skip over the radio, but this is still fine for me. How about you?
Yeah, I really like this song. That synth line opening is fantastic. The bass is great, and it's quite an unusual structure for a pop song because is there even a chorus? Because I guess the chorus is the "and my parents love me," but the verse is more prominent and more memorable. And yeah, you talked about it already, but I said the football chanting in the middle made me think that's part of why they became famous. But I'm gonna maybe rebrand that as roller coaster singing. And yeah, it's not my favorite song from the album. So I think if I had to pick the favorite song from the album, it would probably be Caroline Yes. I don't know if you remember that one.
Can't remember it.
But for a while, I was like, why the hell is it called Caroline Yes? Because I didn't know there's a Beastie Boys song called Beach Boys. Oh, God. A Beach Boys song called Caroline No.
Yes.
But it's Caroline Yes is the one that goes, in my mind. Ooh. Okay, anyway, go listen to it. Apologize for...
They said that they wrote this album because when they were another indie band called Parva, or Parva, who knows how it's pronounced.
It's named after a place I saw.
Yes, in Leeds. Yeah. They were trying to be too serious and trying to be a bit too American, and then I thought, right, we may not get signed again. Let's do music that we can have fun to.
Have a laugh.
Why it is what it is. It's like I said, it's maybe more pop than indie. It's got less indie guitars. It's less po-faced, and Ricky can jump around. And if you listen to Parva, it's like a song. It's more like the serious Coldplay, Radiohead vibes that you would not expect it to be like.
I will say as a side note that Parva in Portuguese means silly woman, so that doesn't make me laugh as a name. Even though I saw that it was named after a place. Yeah. Had you seen the music video before? Because I really remember some of their music videos playing all the time, but I don't think I'd seen this one before.
Yeah, I remember. I think all 4 of the big songs from this I remember being on MTV2 quite often.
But yeah, I mean, again, when you look at the music video, like, yes, this is why they're big, because it's not just about the music, it's not just about the lyrics, it's about the look and the whole atmosphere that they're creating. It feels like commentary on British society at the time, and it's quite funny because like in the music video you feel like the message is like, oh, they're trying to escape the normal world because it's kind of like he's stuck at home with a pregnant girlfriend and her mum and dad, but like it is a bit snobby. I was like, I don't think they because it's like, the girl has like a ponytail and hoops and the dad's wearing like a vest like Hounslow and keeping up appearances, and I was like, oh, it feels a bit like, oh yeah, we're like the arty indie kids, and we don't, those horrible stinking working classes, we don't want anything to do with them. And I was a bit like, I don't think they would film it like that these days. I don't think it'd be the same.
So moving on to 2008 with Never Miss a Beat. 6.5 million, so we had half as many views already. I don't know if you know the song. I remember this being played still. They're still popular. The verse has some dodgy lyrics. What do you want? We want to eat crisps. fair enough. But it's got a decent chorus. The chorus saves it. And
really?
I am a fan of the word beat in songs. I do like the rhythmic manner
Another
of
Fran specificism that we
beat,
found out.
beat. It does work. It does work. If you, yeah, I do like it in songs. Again, there's not many indie guitars. It's all very electronic pop. But yeah, I think it's fun. I think the chorus is the best bit. The verse is very throwaway and a bit clumsy. How about you?
The exact opposite. I
really
like
like that.
yes, literally. So I think, you started with Every Day I Love You Less and Less. That has a really great synth line opener and it's very catchy. It starts with a much more bland guitar. I feel like that was the demo and they just stuck to it. But I quite like the call and response. I find that quite catchy, I guess, because it sounds like two different voices. And the guitar line after the call and response sections that is really, really cool. And I'd completely forgotten about it because all I remembered was the call and response and the chorus. And I was like, wow, what a truly great guitar. I wish they had more like that. I really don't like the chorus. That's what lets it down for it because I find it too repetitive, basically. I don't mind a beat, but a beat.
Never miss a beat, never miss a beat, never miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they do like to repeat words. We have noticed that in the course of the band.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I don't have a strong opinion on that either way, but it's not the repetition of beat that's repetitive. It's the vocal line. So yeah, I really like bits of it and the instruments. I feel like when this song came out, I do remember it. I feel like it was a bit overplayed, but I didn't mind listening to it again for this. And I enjoyed seeing, was it Mark Heap in the music video as the weather presenter? I think so.
No, I think it's Ricky.
Is it?
Yeah, it's him. Yeah, he's the weatherman.
Is he? It really looks like Mark Heap. Okay, well, Ricky Wilson or Mark Heap, well done to you.
And then moving on to a track which I think is just on the best of. Are you a fan of bands doing a best of after just 7 years? Is that too early?
I think I am fine with it, but I would hold off on buying it if they hadn't broken up.
that's what I think as well.
Yeah,
it seems a bit cynical. It's like maybe I don't know. I guess that must have been the end of a record contract. So it's like, can we get some money just before the end?
I saw that they released like a photo book in 2006. And I'm like, that is very early to be releasing a photo book.
Back yourself. You can last more than 1 year. So this is Kind of Girls You Are. 1 million YouTube views. So we're crushing down already.
Enjoying the stats.
It was lovely that they got Beyonce, Lady Gaga, and Britney to star in the video.
I did enjoy that.
Thank you, ladies. Or maybe not the real ones. This is like just an add-on in their compilation, just as the principal songwriter, drummer Nick Hodgson was leaving the band. Turns out that he thought that the band would end and wasn't too happy that they continued to go on without him.
Oh, right. I was hoping that you had done more research than me into this because I didn't know the reasons for him leaving.
Yeah, so I heard him on a podcast and he said he didn't want to be in a band after 35. And he felt like after being in a band for 10 years, he'd done everything he could do. And he preferred producing and writing songs. Like he basically wrote most of the songs and co-produced the first 4 albums. He was the main muse. And then he decided to leave. And then the band thought, well, fuck you, Nick. We liked being the Kaiser Chiefs. We will go on without you. Which is kind of why I think Ricky did the voice to give that extra push as Kaiser Chiefs Part 2, Mark 2 even. But yeah, but back to the song, it's quite forgettable. It does feel like it is like, oh, we had this demo left over from the last album, so we released this.
It is. You said it's on. I think you put it from a Greatest Hits, but it is on one of their albums. It's on The Future Is Medieval. Yeah.
Is it really? Well, I'm an absolute prick then.
Title can't you?
But it's got more of a Rector sound. It's got like surf guitar intro slide. But yeah, it does feel like it was just, I guess, the fact that I haven't even noticed it must have been maybe like the 4th single or something from the album, because I don't even remember this coming out at all. Right? And the first time I saw the video was doing the research of this, so
yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, never heard of the song, never seen the video, very much enjoyed the working class Gaga, Britney and Beyonce tearing it up with, the band cameoing and some kind of creepy men. Did you see that this album was produced by Tony Visconti? and Ethan Johns.
Yeah. I think there's three producers, but yeah, I don't know what he actually produced personally.
No, I haven't gone into that, but I actually didn't mind this. With that like you said, surf guitar, I wrote exactly that. It sounds like Mr. Lou at the beginning, and I was like, oh, is this going to go into some kind of rockabilly or surf rock? And it doesn't really, but I didn't dislike it. I've written that I would dance along to this at the end of disco, but I didn't save it to my list. And I think it's the beginning on this place of like, oh, they have many different sounds I did not realize, and this is one of them.
Did you know? So if this is from their fourth album, this is when they tried to be a bit creative, and they released snippets of 20 songs, and you could choose what album you wanted to create on CD.
Oh, that's quite fun.
So you pay £7.50 and you could create your own 10-track album.
That's such a clever idea.
And then you could also then sell the album to friends for an extra £1.
Precisely because of that, because you're going to get all the different combinations, right? And if
and I think like Celebrities also did their version, and so that was they said actually it's a cynical way of keeping Nick in the band, because he then thought, oh, okay, that's interesting, I'll stay for a little bit longer. But yeah, so in that case, Kind of Girl You Are would have been from that interesting make your own album.
Yeah, not just Radiohead being creative with that.
Well, I mean, I guess it didn't work that well because they haven't done it since. But
well, I mean, again, buying a CD. This was 2011 already, and
it was fading. Yeah. To my next pick, which is Zombie Prom from 2020, because as you mentioned, they were keeping busy during lockdown. Not only did they do a alternative, oh my god, they released a Halloween track, which I just discovered while doing with research. Has 26,000 views, so we're falling down.
I'm surprised it's so low. Yeah,
it's got a B-52 kind of vibe to it. I guess they're trying to create a dance floor anthem, but for me, it's a bit uninspired. It's a bit repetitive, and it's a bit monstrously average for me. But what are your thoughts?
Well, just to say, you mentioned B-52s, and obviously there's a Ricky Wilson in B-52s as well.
Oh, yes.
You remember that when you go on Ricky Wilson's Wikipedia page and it says, "Or do you mean Ricky Wilson of B-52s?" I was so surprised by this. Again, I'm like, they clearly want to do something a bit rockabilly, because that's what it sounds like to me. Also very confusing that Ricky sounds American here, because it's not like his Leeds accent is very, very strong, but normally you can hear it a little bit. We're here.
Is it because it's a prom? Is that
I guess it's because it's a prom. I really enjoyed that when you go and try and find this video on YouTube, it's not there under Kaiser Chiefs, they're the Kaiser Freaks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, am I looking for the right video? Yeah, again, kind of similar to Kind of Girl You Are. I enjoyed this, and I wonder, like, if you played this to the average music fan, would they recognize it as Kaiser Chiefs? Because to me, there's nothing really there. But again, I'm like, oh wow, they are not scared to reinvent themselves, which is surprising for a band that's so linked, like you say, to the landfill indie times. So yeah, felt a bit like Ricky Wilson was cosplaying as an American teenager, but I didn't have too much of a problem with it.
I mean, if it's a one-off single during lockdown, you can't really have a
Halloween song, like you said, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. And then we're moving on to the comeback single. So post Nick Hodgson years, and this is Coming Home from Education, which is
and War,
and so you never forget the war, which is Ricky's. Said he spent more time on lyrics than any song, and he says it actually was just failing because he thinks that he was pushing songs because of the lyrical content rather than the actual melody.
That's quite interesting and honest.
Yeah, he said. That. Yeah, he's for me, this feels a little more indie. It felt more like an Embrace anthem. It's got more of a serious sound again. The interesting keyboards are being replaced by organs. We've got like a George Harrison kind of like guitar sound happening. We've got that big anthemic chorus. I mean, I quite like it, but then I'm a sucker for fucking shitty anthemic choruses. But yeah, I was surprised because a lot of people had written a band off when you lose your main songwriter. You think, oh, are they going to be okay? And I mean, yeah, it's got 7 million views, so yeah, it was a hit. I think Jab got to #1, so it turns out being in a voice does do well for your career.
Wow! Did you see the music video?
Yeah, it's a one shot decent. Yeah, I'm a fan of a one-shot music video.
Me too, and I thought it was very nice. Yes, you kind of answered the questions I had for you because I said, what would you call this genre? Question mark. Reflective indie? Question mark. And I wrote, I feel like you might like this. I like the fact that he's kind of speak singing in the verses.
Yeah,
but that's about it. I particularly dislike the guitar solo in the middle eight at the end, but again, I didn't hate it. I just disliked it, and the music video made up for that. So probably my least favorite. Well, maybe one of the other ones, but among my least favorites. But I didn't hate it.
so it's interesting. Yeah, 'cause, like, what now is the Kaiser sound? Because we think of employment, don't we? Like the and the pinky keyboard sound. But by now,
and yeah, well, a little bit of yours truly, Angry Mob. But yeah, I mean, and you've asked that question. I think we have to continue answering that question as we go through your place because there's more sounds to come.
So moving back again to is it Futures Medieval 2011. We have Little Shocks. I think was the first single, and the only song I remember being played on the radio. This has 482,000 views. So considering that, we had
in the millions,
13 million for there, that has shrunk quite dramatically. We've got the swirling kind of keyboard sound. It feels like a theme from a mystery. The chorus is lifted by synth lines and power chords and a frantic, sinister sort of dark twist to it. It feels a lot darker than a lot of the singles, and I found it quite interesting. And for me, it sounds a lot like Maximo Park.
Ooh. Yes.
Which isn't a bad thing. So I enjoyed the single and I was excited to wait for the album. When the album came out, I was like, oh, okay.
Right. Okay. So I didn't know the song at all. I really loved it, especially that beginning. In a way, the eeriness of the beginning, it doesn't quite come back to that level of eeriness. You think it's going to be spookier than it actually is. But yeah, they've somehow managed to meld new wave but also a bit heavier rock. This is definitely a kind of more guitar-y thing and a much more straightforward music video. It's that thing of, I guess, with more guitar bands you think they're going to have more straightforward, them playing a gig in a place, and that's what this music video is. But yeah, this was one of my favorites. This one I saved, and yeah, there's nothing else on the album sound like this.
Well, like I say, because it's 20 songs, I think it's also meant unless you really wanted to spend time, it was easy to gloss over it, which is why that the previous song, I've even forgotten the title already. So shit on it. Kind of Go You Are. I completely forgot that's even on the album, and I saw them at Isle of Wight that year, and I was actually quite impressed by how good they were live. They are a decent live band.
So many comments mentioned that in the YouTube videos. They're like, "Oh, you can't imagine how good this band is live," or, "Oh, I've seen them much more than your average band." And yeah, I can believe that. I would like to see them. I think if they did an employment, 20th anniversary in
2 years,
2 years, absolutely, I'm game for that. But I think even if they didn't, I would probably still go and see them if it was, let me think, if it was below 30 euros in Brussels, I would go and see them. But yeah,
I mean, he's a charismatic frontman. I mean, so
yeah, definitely,
yeah, and he can sing. I mean, he's just a master singer. A lot of those indie singers can't really actually hold a note too well. So it's quite a rare breed. Moving along, we have record collection from Duck, which is the tour I saw. And I think Duck is probably a return to form. And if you are a fan of the mid-noughties sound, you would enjoy that. Although this single record collection doesn't sound at all like mid-noughties Kaiser. So for me,
I was thinking that. I was like,
not the song. So for me, this sounds like Kaiser's being Duran Duran. Even to the distorted vocal effects that Simon Le Bon uses quite often, and the rhythmic Simpson guitars, although I think John would have had a more interesting bass line. But yeah, the video is an Art Attack spoof.
Art of Quack.
It's got 382,000, so still falling down in the views, guys. But yeah, I enjoy it. But again, as I said, this is a new sound. I mean, we know we did new wave, but this is very much very much a new wave sound.
Yeah, I wrote, we're back in synth territory, and this is much more pop. And I think the previous album that I can't remember, that I don't think you picked a song from.
Stay Together, 2016. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So that was produced by Xenomania. So I imagine that is pretty poppy. This was produced by a guy called, or partially produced by a guy called Ben H. Allen, who's produced both like hip hop acts and pop acts. So that was interesting. So when I first heard this, I was like, oh, I feel it's a bit similar to kind of Girl You Are. You know, I enjoyed it, but I didn't save it on the list. And I was like, this would be a fantastic Eurovision entry for sure. But on the second listen, kind of already from the beginning, I was like, no, hang on, I'm completely wrong. This is an absolute pop banger. It's just, I just needed to get over the fact that it was Kaiser Chiefs.
Yeah.
I had to kind of disconnect from that, like you say, the mid-noughties Kaiser Chiefs. And I saved it. I liked it. No, and again, how many more times can I say I was surprised? I wasn't expecting them to keep evolving like this and to go so pop as they did in the song.
I then kept thinking of the Mark Ronson Simon Le Bon song.
I didn't mention it because I mentioned it so many times that I was like, let me not. So I'm glad that you did, because I was like, is it a cover? No, it isn't. Okay, fine.
But I wonder if they have heard it, because he is a bit Simon Le Bon in that track. But so I thought I have to at least have one of the big hits. So I've gone back to the second album with Ruby. I can't say it because I've got a speech impediment, but you get the idea. How many views on YouTube, Babs?
Okay. So you said that
so far the highest we've got is 13 million. With
13 million. I'm gonna go for, because I saw that on Spotify it was the most played by far. I'm gonna go for 50 million. Wow, okay,
50
great.
million.
I didn't watch the music video because I'm like, I remember it. So yeah, I didn't look this up.
Some bands who have a song which is like humongous, and I never know why. And so I quite like the Kaiser Chiefs, but I don't get why Ruby is by far their biggest song. I really, it's like, for example, the Lightning Seeds, like You Showed Me, became their biggest hit, and I have no idea why. The Beautiful South.
Excuse me, banger. It's a cover though. But yeah.
Beautiful South, Perfect 10. It's like, that's like their biggest song. I don't know why it is, but
again, I feel
Placebo,
like I have explanations.
Pure Morning, Placebo. That's not their best song. I don't get it. So this adds.
Okay. I will leave my interjections for another time.
Please write in, guys, if you've got other songs you don't understand why they're
to me, and then I can back up my argument. Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, as I said before, I'm not a big fan of repeating the same word again and again and again and again. The chorus, to me, it's plodding in this indie with a circus synth line. It's hard for me to listen to this. I'm so bored of it. But a fun fact, my rat is also called Ruby, but not connected to the song.
Do you sing the song to her every now and again?
I did, but she also turned her nose on it. She's not a fan. She's got taste. She says she prefers me to sing Modern Way, to be fair. So what are your thoughts?
This was so overplayed. So unremittingly overplayed. I don't know if I ever liked it to begin with in the first place because it was so overplayed. I feel like I can understand why it is big, because it has a sing-along. Like, anyone can sing along to the chorus. It's just Ruby, 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 Ruby. And the music video is quite charming. Though I haven't watched it, I remember it's like it's the band playing and then there's kind of animated things going on around them. But yeah, it is kind of football singing with a flourish. Because it is a more delicate, sensitive song, but just too much, way too much.
And I guess one of the things is that if English isn't your first language, you're going to be able to sing along to the chorus, aren't you?
Exactly.
It does. I don't know how big they are outside of England.
I don't know. I feel like so the more modern songs have loads and loads of Spanish and Portuguese comments. So I think it's once again good old Latin America coming in and going for the rock.
And then I thought I'd move back to, I don't know what order I did this, but I thought I'd include another song from Employment. And I used to really hate No. So I thought I'd pop it in because I never got why.
Does it not move you? Does it not?
It doesn't move me. And I thought to myself, come on, guys, it's another gimmicky chorus. As I mentioned again, I don't like one-word choruses, so we've now got no. The guitar side is semi-interesting. It just feels like an unfinished idea, in fact they never got around to completing. But it seems to be massive on the live scene. Like, every time I see them live, they do this song and everyone goes fucking insane because they can sing along to it easily, maybe.
I was going to say, you've answered your own question there.
Yeah.
I really like this song. Again, a bit like Everyday I Love You Listeners, it's not one of my favorites, but I think it's fun because it's so high pitched And you know me and a piano. Normally I don't like it, but the kind of plinky plonkiness of the piano goes along with the singing. And I think what helps is that synth going kind of adds layers to it, and especially the harmonizing with himself when he's not doing the na-na-nas, I think is also very good. No, I realized I didn't even write any notes for this song. I'm just saying this off the top of my head because I'm like, I know exactly what this song sounds like, and I know that I like it.
And then I thought I'd finish with the most recent song I could find on Spotify. So we have from last year, "How to Dance," spelled with a 2, I believe, with 80,000 views.
Up a bit.
So yeah, we've all heard Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars, and so have the Kaiser Chiefs. And this seems to be their new direction. It's not great. It's dance music for dance music. It's pretty much on your nose. Hey, we need a track we can dance to, and it sounds exactly what you'd imagine. Yeah,
but he talks about anxiety, so it is more modern.
But yeah, but also I think that if you say the word dance in a song, which is a dance track, it's kind of like, look, guys, it's a dance song. You can hear this by me saying the word dance. So dance, please. It's a bit torn in nose. Like, yeah, okay, I get it. I get it. Ricky.
You must hate Dance Monkey Dance.
Hopefully, when your album's out this year, it's not going to be all like this. But what are your thoughts?
I will read you my notes as written. Pure summer jam pop. The American accent is back. Doesn't sound anything like Kaiser Chiefs. I'm surprised this song wasn't given to one of the current pop babes, because it would, for me, why isn't whoever, BB Rexha, Kim Petras, someone else like that singing one of these songs? It feels strange that it's coming out of not that he sings it badly, but I'm just like, it just sounds so pop. And while I thought that Record Collection was, a pop banger, this one feels a bit more soulless, a bit more songwriting by numbers, and like you say that, we've got to have the song. But I think the band is self-aware about that, because I found this interview in Clonk magazine, and they say the band know that this isn't necessarily what we have come to expect from them, but as long as we're having fun with it, they don't seem to mind. And the quote is, "I hope to hear it at weddings, on the radio, and in the last remaining indie discos across the land."
Guys, if you are going to an indie disco, let me know, because I can't find any of them anymore.
Oh, well, I was meant to go to one. So there are still indie discos in Belgium. I haven't been to one in a while, and my friends are all worried that it's only going to be students, and I'm like, I don't give a shit if it's just students. I will dance with the 22-year-olds. I don't care.
Yeah, I think I went to like an indie disco in like 2012, and like in my day, they play like Bon Jovi for like the fun era, and then they're playing Blur, and he knew that the kids were going, "Oh, it's my dad's band." And I was like, "Oh no, oh no!"
I can handle that.
As a cynical part of me says, it's just the Kaiser Chiefs changing their sound because they want to keep being relevant. Like, how much is it them? I don't know. I people said when they first came out, that their first album was cynical, and the fact that they completely dropped their original band's name and style and then moved on to this is like, are they constantly just going for the fame? Are they constantly jumping from phase to phase?
Whether they are or not, I don't really care as long as the music is good. I said soulless because I think when it comes to the Kaiser Chiefs, especially because their early songs are so tongue-in-cheek and so specific to them, like the nights out that they're describing, it is a night out in a northern town. If it wasn't for Chip Fat, they'd be frozen, etc., etc. So to have a more generic dance song by them, I'm like, yeah, it is a good song, but that's it. I would believe it much more if a glamorous young woman was singing it rather than 45-year-old Ricky Wilson. Sorry, mate. I don't know. I feel like I'm just so much less cynical about the things like this these days. I'm like, well, if I can understand why they still want to make money. Besides Nick, they're still together, so hopefully there's still a connection there. And when you look at the music videos they did in lockdown, it seems fun. So yeah, I'm not too fussed because I never placed too much faith in them to begin with, I guess.
Never put your faith in a rock and roll band. It's not Noel Gallagher.
Stop voicing the Gallaghers on me.
I think the Oasis had a beef with the Kaisers.
I saw a headline. What was the beef?
I think that they called Kaiser Chiefs as shit Blur.
That's a bit reductive, isn't it?
But then every band who were doing well in that era, they had a beef with. Block Party.
Yeah.
That's what it did, and that's what it did. So, Kaiser Chiefs, Babs, over or underrated?
I don't know is the answer, because honestly, your playlist surprised me.
Mhm.
I wasn't expecting to like so many of the songs that I didn't know. It made me go back and listen to Employment again, which is always fantastic. And I checked, of course, how many monthly listeners they have, and it's over 3 million. So I don't necessarily think they're underrated, but I can't call them overrated. I think they're rated until further listening for me. I need to explore further, because they've gone into certain directions that I really, really like. And I think if I can get over the fact that it's Kaiser Chiefs, but it sounds something different, I think Little Shucks especially, I was like, whoa, this is really, it is much rockier, and I didn't expect it. And even the fact that like I changed my mind after one listen on a popular song. No. I think there's depth and layers to Kaiser Chiefs that I didn't know they still had. And I think I'm going to be checking out some of this stuff.
Yeah, well, I think maybe Start and Duck, which is where Record Collection's from. It's it's a great live show. So for me, very much like you, really. I think they've got enough decent tracks. I think they've done very well to still be playing arenas in this modern climate, to be fair, because obviously, guitar music is not as popular as it was.
Yeah, but you would also then recommend catching Kaiser Chiefs if they in your area.
So I saw them at Bournemouth, and I thought they're brilliant, and I saw them at a festival, and again, brilliant. So if they are around, do check them out, guys. But maybe wait until you hear the new album first to see what it's like.
I feel very similarly to our Royal Blood episode, in which I came in being like, for sure, whatever Fran's put together, I'm going to think they're overrated. And I was very pleasantly surprised. So, I will. There are certain bands where when you hear that they've released a new album, you just don't bother anymore. You might listen to a song. With Kaiser Chiefs, like I said, I think I've also got Yours Truly, Angry Mob, but never really listened to it. Don't even know any of the other songs. I probably do, but I don't think I know any other songs off it. So, yeah, worth a pickier, deeper dive for sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you like music and do you like podcasts? Chances are you like music podcasts. Take this one for example, Pick a Disc. I'm Matt Latham, and every fortnight a guest comes on to Pick a Disc to talk about an album for any reason that they want to. They'll talk about the album as a whole, we talk about the songs, we talk about any personal stories about the album, if they've ever seen the band live, and all sorts of other crazy tangents. And if any point any of that made you want to listen to Pick a Disc, then you can find us on your podcast apps of choice, or on the Facebooks and Twitters and Instagram under Pick a Disc. We're also on the We Made This Podcast Network on WeMadeThisNetwork.com, and on Twitter at @we_made this. Goodbye.
Underrated.
Right, we are back. We're still up north, but we're talking about one of the more ungoogleable bands out there, The Music. The Music, who are Robert Harvey, Adam Nutter, Stuart Coleman, and Phil Jordan, are a band from Kippax in Leeds, and they had some success. They definitely were in that category of the bands from the similar era. They toured with the Vines. I found out they toured with Coldplay. I had no idea about that. And I hadn't realized how hyped they were. So apparently Steve Lamacq and Enemy were saying that they were the best unsigned band in Britain after releasing this song called Take the Long Road and Walk It, which made it onto their debut album. And they were a very young band. The fame came pretty quickly. But it took its toll on the band. I think there was drug abuse in the band, and I think it sounded like they had a very intense touring schedule as well, which really got to them. So they only released 3 albums in 2002, 2005, and 2008. And I really liked them from the beginning. I remember seeing the music video to Take the Long Road and Walk It, the windy one in color, not the other one in black and white. I hadn't even realized that there was another one. And I thought, oh, who are these scruffy northern indie boys? They are my types of people. And eventually I found their debut album in, I think, the CD Shop Said Boutique in Luxembourg. Shout out. And I thought that album was incredible. The artwork very noticeable. And, there was a bit of a gap before their next album, Welcome to the North, came out. And while I thought it had a few good songs on it, it took me a bit longer to get into it. And when it came to their third album, Strength in Numbers, I think I've only listened to it a few times, and I had to kind of re-listen to it for this episode to make the playlist. I think despite they clearly found some fame, toured with some famous bands, and were apparently massive in Japan for some reason. I think there was this massive hype around them when their debut album came out. I thought it had been well received, but actually they got a lot of negative criticisms from music magazines saying, "Oh, the production's really bad, and for a band that was so hyped, it's not great." But I would absolutely disagree with those. I think they have a particular blend of people say, especially, it's kind of like Stone Roses with Led Zeppelin. There's definitely some Primal Scream and Kasabian coming in, and every single one of them is an amazing musician and singer. Rob Harvey has an amazing voice. I love a man with a falsetto, and my God, does he employ it. And yeah, I think both Fran and I have wanted to talk about this band for ages, and I was more than happy to go and do the homework of listening to their third album and seeing what I could find there to discuss, because I've certainly picked some songs that are some of my favorites of all time, and keen to get into it. Fran, the music.
Hi guys. So yeah, I remember the hype, and I think it did put me off.
Oh right.
Although
okay.
we've got to think. So this was 2002. So this was before the Kaiser Chief era, really. This was mainly like bands like Turin, Breaks, and Coldplay and Travis. There's more guys with acoustic guitars, so it was quite different to have like a full out rock and roll band. To be fair, I mean, it predates the Darkness too. I'm not a fan of Led Zeppelin.
It's a fact we know and need to explore further, also at a future date.
So therefore, I was a bit put off. Although it's interesting to listen to Rob chat, but he had never heard Led Zeppelin or Jane's Addiction before making seriously, he swears he had never heard either band. So that's all just natural. That's the sound that came out when they got together and jammed at school. So so I know. So I mean, I do take back some criticism, because I did think, okay, is this the Leeds version of the sixth form Led Zeppelin? I mean, yeah, he's got for a 19-year-old, he's a fantastic singer.
It's unreal to think that they were so young. Like the complexity of the music. Yeah,
and guitar playing as well. For a guy who says he's not a real guitar player and just did it for a laugh, it's like,
are you joking, Adam? Come on, mate. We've listened to you on podcasts. We like you. Come on.
As a four-piece, they definitely had talent. And I think, we're going to go through the playlist, but yeah, there's maybe only a couple of tracks I liked off the first album, and for me, it hit on the second album. And at work, the second album was played all the time, and I thought it was a big hit. And like, it was only reading about them during research and listening to the podcast, so it turns out that it was kind of seen as a bit of a failure, and I think they got dropped by the record label as well. It's crazy how young they were, and it's sad that they ended before they even hit 30. So yeah. I've not seen them live, and obviously they don't exist as a band anymore. Although they do the occasional reunion tours. I mean, it was nice that they still get on, and yeah, Adam's got his own podcast, and other members of the band guest on that and chat about the old days, which is very helpful when you're researching a podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad, because I did the whole trying to find interviews of them on YouTube, and there's a few, but what I really wanted to find out actually was their influences, because yeah, they're not your average rock band, I would say. And sometimes elements come in where you're like, where the hell did that come from? That sounds like country or bluegrass or something. So I hope that you have those facts, Fran, because I did not have time to go and listen to podcasts and then have the. But I mean, I'm looking at the chart positions. Freedom Fighters reached 15 on the UK charts, and the only one that was higher than that was the reissue of Take the Long Road and Walk It, which was 14. So I think you're right that it was played, but they maybe weren't so famous, because top 20 is obviously not top 10 or top 5, right?
So in 2004, their sound wasn't like Kaiser Chiefs and Arctic Monkeys. It was that indie became the big thing, and were they too rock and roll for the masses maybe by then?
Well, I mean, you were talking about touring breaks and Coldplay, but I guess it was also new metal time, right? So it's like maybe the guitars that people wanted also came with some DJ scratches and a man in a backwards baseball cap. But I don't think they're very easy. I'm saying Stone Roses and Led Zeppelin, but I think it's quite reductive to compare them to those two bands. It's not quite. It really is like a mix of that. And when you look over their whole albums, their whole discography, they don't just stick to one sound. And even within the song, very often you're like the I hadn't really thought about the different types of synths and percussion as well. I think Phil Jordan is one of the most underrated drummers in Britain. I'm gonna say it now. Just the way that the drums drive these songs, and he'll bring in like djembe drums and that thing that they shake in bossa nova that I don't know the name of, that's like an egg with little things inside it. That comes in at times, and it just adds so much depth to the songs and makes them so interesting. I think they're also masters of building and breaking it down and building up a song again. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
You can tell by a lot of songs came from jams, just because how they work together. But it's interesting. Like I couldn't find anything on Phil doing music. Like, is that it? It just seems like a wasted talent. To be fair, I mean, Adam does some music now, but like for 10 years he didn't even pick up a guitar, which is quite sad, really.
Yeah, but I mean, I think when you are forced to live that so intensively, like I saw Zane Lowe interviewing them, and it was just after they'd done like massive tour, and they just look tired. You know, they just look tired, and it's a lot. And I think it's that thing of, if you're really good and a virtuoso at something, maybe being forced to play it all the time, you know, kind of puts you off it. Or maybe if you associate it with kind of drugs and a bad time, because I saw the beginning of this other interview that Rob did later on in 4Music, and he was talking about how for the third album, it was, I quote, the first time that Adam and I sat down and really talked about things. And he was like, which is mad, because we've known each other, but they were young men in the early noughties. How much were they talking about their feelings, and how much were their frustrations displayed? I don't know.
Yeah, and they talk quite openly now. And like, apparently when they first signed the contract, their managers told them to buy a house and get health insurance. And Rob says he's so happy that he had both.
That's good news. That's good advice.
Because it meant he could go to therapy and pay for it all. When he was addicted to alcohol and weed, and like I think he checked into the Priory in like 2006. This is why there's a 4-year gap between the second and third album. He says like he has no self-confidence, and he says like it's mad that he can get on stage, but once he's on stage, he then manages why he's there, but he said he struggles.
I want to give him a hug.
But when you see him live, he's like dancing, he's giving it all, but like he said, he says...
I love that his dancing, when you see clips of them playing live, or even in music videos.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
Okay, so I made this list in alphabetical order. That's what I've done to try and mix it up for the albums. And so I've picked 3 songs from each of their 3 albums, and a song from an EP. And the first song I've picked is Breakin' from Welcome to the North. So yeah, this album was certified gold. You know, it was big enough for that. I've picked this because I do think that the start is kind of annoying, that but I absolutely love what it then goes into, the guitar line, the percussion and bass, and how it builds to that. And I'd never seen the black and white video of this song that the music are actually in. And someone wrote down my exact thought, which was, so James R.G. Neville wrote on YouTube, this is the same video as Madonna's Ray of Light, just with some stock visual effects. Yep, correct, tick. So yeah, I picked this in part because I'm like, okay, it was a single, but, you know, yeah, maybe not a perfect song. And maybe that's why, for me, I slightly went off why it took me a bit longer to get into Welcome to the North, but still some good stuff there. What do you think?
Yeah, so this stuck out for me, but it was different to the first album, and it did have pop hooks. And I put down here that, it's got a baggy, loose dance beat, bass groove, and I think that if they tone down the guitars, even Girls Aloud could release this. Because you can't go down, you can't go down, and gonna break down, and have a dance routine. I think it works perfectly as a pop song.
Yeah, but for me, the guitars are what makes it. So I don't think I'd like it if Girls Aloud released it, as much as I do like some Girls Aloud.
But so this for me was a change, because okay, they can do more than just what I thought was a COD Led Zeppelin. So this was a good introduction to the second album for me.
Sometimes bands are compared to Led Zeppelin, and it kind of confuses me, because for me, it's too psychedelic and synthy to be Led Zeppelin. As in, the riffs are riffs, don't get me wrong, but there's more to it than that.
I think it was maybe Take the Long Road was on all the time, and that, to me, that was the sound. Like, because I do like some songs on that album, which we'll get to.
Well, we're sticking with the second album, Welcome to the North, and I've picked Freedom Fighters. The drums, I'm going to mention the drums a lot. So damn groovy. The bass line is so complex. Riffs. But yeah, I'd never, in my mind, grouped the music and Kasabian together. But after putting this list together, I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of similarities there, and it's around the same time as well. And that guitar solo in the middle 8 sounds a bit Kasabian-y. For the music video, I've written that Rob is dressing pretty much like I did in the early noughties, t-shirt over a long sleeve shirt, jeans. Didn't have a big necklace like he did, but I absolutely love the vibe. Love how he looks like Dave from In Me, really, in this music video too. I hadn't seen most of these music videos, so it's a fun exploration for me, and I liked how it really was just kind of like, we are in a band and we have to make a music video. Off we trot.
By the way, I don't know if from out. I have put down the YouTube stats for the music, so you can compare between the.
Go ahead, please say.
So Breaking,
yeah.
we had 90,000. So we're talking 2004 prime time. At MTV2, and we can't even hit 100,000. It's not good, is it? And Freedom Fighters has 291,000. So was that the biggest hit? Oh, yeah, you said it was what top 20? Yeah.
Number 15.
Yeah, so this is more music during the debut album stuff for me. So it's a bit too riff based. I wanted a bit more. I guess it made sense why this was the first single, because it wasn't going to really scare away the fans going, oh, they've changed their sound. It kind of is what you'd expect from the music. So I think it's perfectly fine, but I prefer it when they have some more interesting synth stuff, which we get to later on and Welcome to the North.
Yes, we will do. But we're getting away from Welcome to the North with my next pick, which is Getaway. Now, I'm going to put my cards on the table. This is one of my favourite songs of all time.
Of all time?
Of all time, yeah.
Do you own it as a single?
As a single, no. I own the album. I own You Might As Well Try to Fuck Me on EP. And I own, I think, The Truth Is No Words. Yeah, I'm obsessed with this song. Which peaked at number 26 in the UK chart. I would have thought much higher because I felt like this video was on a lot.
Is that because the album had already come out and people want any album but a single?
It's like you said. I think it's Take the Long Road and Walk It was the hyped song, and I think the other songs that came out after that just weren't or didn't feel like they were as played or as popular, right? And the thing with Take the Long Road and Walk It was released twice. When I first looked at the peak chart positions, it said, Take the Long Road and Walk at 92. And I was like, what? It cannot have been 92. But that was the first release in 2001. When it was re-released in 2002, it went to 14. So that was the highest placing one. But Getaway, I very much remember the music video with, Rob looking quite angelic with the white backdrop and the people running towards him. So and I feel that would have been the next most played video that I've seen. And I didn't include the people or The Truth Is No Words, which, I feel were the other big songs from that era. It's the longest song that I put on this list, but it doesn't feel like that to me. And as I said, what's incredible about the music, personally, is the way that it builds. It starts so simply with this kind of guitar line and bass. His voice comes in, and then just there are some incredible flourishes, and it's the peak of Robert Harvey harmonizing with himself, singing his best falsetto. And my favorite breakdown bit is that synth breakdown in the middle with the guitar line and the xylophone synths coming in with him going, "What's it like out there?" with almost like, it feels like an effect on his voice or something, and it feels like he's trapped in some kind of dream. I hadn't thought about how Kasabian-y or Primal Screamy again this was, and then suddenly it stops and it's just guitar, him, and then all the instruments towards the end. I think it's a really impressive achievement, although again, this is the bit where I started reading the album criticism, and I was like, oh, okay, not everyone agrees with me.
So this is the most watched YouTube. This is 2.2 million.
That really, really surprises me.
And The People was the song that made them big in Japan. And
interesting.
Rob reckons because they couldn't hear his lyrics, but it's a very easy song for them to sing along to.
Once again, yeah.
This is the best song for me on the first album.
We can agree on that.
The manager didn't want it on the album, and it happens all the time, doesn't it? And Rob had a fight for it because this is the only song that was written outside of the band jamming. Rob wrote this about his mate's dad who died, and how it would be to be him. That's why it's like looking up It's about think about his dad, and I think it's a classic track. I think it's this was the only song when the hype was happening. I thought, okay, Getaway's great, but on the album, unfortunately, that was one of the only highlights. Good choice. I'm glad you included it, and but Kasabian. This predates Kasabian, so did they borrow from the music as well?
They might well have done, yeah. Kasabian did a lot more borrowing than we realised, as much as we still like their music. Given the fact that they're so young, I'm just thinking they must have been total music nerd kids who had that in common, that they just love listening to all different types of music, and they're so talented and managed to synthesize that into something like Getaway. But I mean, it doesn't sound old to me. It doesn't sound dated at all. It's still epic in my eyes.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, when you get a band who meet at high school and all four are brilliant? Because it's a band like Ride, for example. Ride, all four are amazing, and you all met at 15. It's the sheer luck of having all your mates being brilliant at playing guitar and having your friend who has that voice. What is the chances of that happening? So they're very lucky that they weren't having the bassist who was taught by Adam, that sort of thing. They could all really play, which is quite beautiful, really. But is that because back in the 90s we didn't have social media? That's my old man.
God, Fran, don't do it.
No, you haven't got your TikToks destroying the world.
Although I read a very interesting article in The Guardian today talking about how basically there's almost no bands in the top 40 or top 100, whatever it is, and they were pondering whether it's because social media is so important and it's so much easier to kind of not only brand one person, but also for one person to talk about themselves, right, rather than a band deciding on how to communicate. So something to think about.
I mean, he said that they joined the band because Adam and Rob felt like outsiders, and that kind of was what you did as outsiders. You made music. That kind of was a hobby, and maybe now outsiders go on Reddit and stuff. Is that what's happening, guys? Guys,
down with the kids.
Guys, write in if you've heard of Reddit.
Fun. Okay. Bringing it back to the first song I've picked from their third album, and I've picked the title track, Strength in Numbers, from Strength in Numbers. Now, Spotify tells me I saved this back in 2016, but I have genuinely zero memory of this song. I think I must have listened to that album maximum 3 times through. But I enjoyed this much more than I remember. It's much, much slicker, much tighter production. I really like how it starts with this urgent beginning, but there's this kind of ethereal guitar in the verse, and once again the harmonization is beautiful in the chorus, and how the kind of urgent guitars at the beginning come back in. I also like, unlike a lot of their songs, how you think it's going to end but then suddenly it comes back for another bit. That doesn't really happen with the music songs. So I can't believe I've ignored this since 2016. I'm gonna absolutely fetishize this accent again. Strength in Numbers. If I fetishize anyone, it's Northern Indie Boys. Okay, I won't apologize. Come to me. And the music video, I guess, is maybe a bit more of a developed one. It's this kind of urban dystopia. People are filming some disturbing happenings, like Getaway. It reminded me a little bit of the Prodigy Voodoo People video, and it was like the people running blind. I did get that vibe from some of their videos. But do you believe in Strength in Numbers, or are you a solo act?
Well, I certainly believe in the album because we did play it at Zavi, because I was shocked to find out that a lot of people didn't know this album existed, and Adam was saying that he meets fans going, I love your 2 albums, and they go 3. And they go, what? And I think there was, the promotion was nothing. And I remember wanting to go and see him live because I loved that album, and because it is a big departure. And the producer is Flood, who did Violator and Songs of Faith and Devotion, Depeche Mode, and I love his production. And I thought, I really love the song Drugs, which is one of the biggest singles. And then I think they did a tour of maybe 8 dates, and that was it. And in my head, I thought the music was still quite a big act. And it does seem to be no, we don't care about the music anymore. But I really didn't understand, because I thought this is a step in a new direction. I think Adam said that he wanted to do completely different guitar sounds. Rob wanted to sing differently, which is why he sings more restrained and a lower register. He's not going full out falsetto the whole way through. And I love all the extra synths and everything happening. Yeah, and yeah, it frustrates me why this album has been buried. And like I said, the video got 187,000. So for the first song of a new album, it's not a lot, to be fair. Although this probably sounds closer to Welcome to the North than anything else maybe on the album. It's got this high octane singing. But I love, like, after 2 minutes, it's sort of like it elevates into a new direction. The bass kicks in, and yeah, it's a great track. So yeah, Strength in Numbers for me is a win.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have kind of rediscovered it, despite having said to you, I definitely have listened to it before.
As a fan of the music, so were you not living in the UK in 2000?
No, I wasn't.
Okay,
so
is that what it was?
I remember very specifically, because I moved in 2001 to Luxembourg.
Yeah.
I remember watching the next pick, the video to Take the Long Road and Walk It.
Yeah.
The music video on one of the very random music channels that we had from our illegal Skybox. It was never MTV2. It was like, I can't even remember the name. There was Channel U, which was the grime one, but I can't remember any of the other non-grime ones that were just, I can't remember any of their names. I do remember that one of them had, I think I mentioned it before, like sexy music videos after 9 p.m. I saw this video and I thought, yeah, who's this boy in a beanie hat? I want to know more. Yeah, I think I've already got some idea of what you're going to think about it. So I'm glad that I picked it, because I do like this song, but it is such a weird beginning, because it takes a while for this distorted guitar to come in, and then the drums, and then the singing. But then for me, it builds, and I love it. And the way that he says, "Take the long road and walk it," I believe it. He's telling me to fuck off, right? I can believe it. And what I think, again, makes it unique, and the music is I don't even know what it is, if it's a bridge, that country bluegrass guitar, the beep bada beep bada beep bada beep. The only other band that I can think doing something like that is Gomez, with a similar kind of guitar sound. So that's why when I was like, oh, I'd love to hear about the influences, because I really do like this song, but it shocks me that this was the song that made them so hyped, because this is not an immediate easy listen. And as you said, it wasn't sounding like much that was going on. I mean, that could have been to the advantage. It could have been like, oh, the rock music that's going on is very different to this. But yeah, what do you think about it? And what do you think about the fact that this was the song that launched them?
Yeah, it does stand out for not fitting in really. And I remember Oasis were bigging them up, as well as Coldplay. So all of the
so it could have been there.
All of the big indie bands were saying this new great band called Music. The Charlatans again. Tim Burgess loved this, and he would. But so yes, it's interesting that the indie bands were loving this more hearty rock and roll band. I mean, I don't hate the song. I think it's fine. I think maybe it felt too long for me. I do like the breakdown when it goes beep bab. It does need something to it. I feel like it's more of like a jam with lots of windy guitars and stuff. But he's a great singer.
He's such a great singer.
Great singer, but yeah, I mean, it's not something that I have emotional connection to, as previous people have mentioned on the podcast. I would not say that they are a bad band at all, but maybe the first album isn't something that I would go to. But when people play the music, especially the first album, I enjoy it, but it's not something that I can connect to as much as maybe other bands from that period.
I do think so. It kind of makes sense what you're saying, that the songs came out of them jamming. To me, I didn't see it like that at all. I just saw it as a band that was into more long psychedelic song structures than more straightforward pop, but it does make kind of sense. But I do remember it took me a while. I do love all of that first album, but it took me a very long time to get into all of it. I think it was an album that for a very long time I would listen to Getaway, The People, this song, and The Truth Is No Word. Like, I think The Truth Is No Words is, I would say, arguably the catchiest one, even if it's not your favorite, but just that repetitive kind of pre-chorus bit, it's very good. But yeah, the fact that this song, which takes bloody ages for him to get to that delivery, was so hyped, it still surprises me.
It's also fun, strange, that their logo was very mod, and they're not mod at all, are they really?
Well, so I didn't research this, but I listened to Adam Nutter on, was it 22 Grand Pod? Could it have been that? Could it have been Boys in the Band? I don't know.
Their name is the same.
I don't know. Sorry, guys. And he was talking about the story of the logos.
Yeah.
Oh, crap! All my CDs are falling in my hand. So it was like they'd gone to I think they'd either gone to an art gallery or had gone to like someone's house where they were exhibiting this work, and it was this thing of like they had to decide on the spot to buy this artwork, and it cost like $2,000 or something. But and possibly their manager was like, "No, we've got to do it," because that was it. Like the branding was part of it, and of the kind of like, oh, this band called The Music, and okay, you know what they look like, but actually, that's all you know. You know, they're these scruffy musical kids. But the album artwork was so striking, and you know to this day you know that if it's the the colorful circles, it's a music record. So now the next one, I really don't know what you're going to think, and I wonder whether you like it or not.
So I'll tell you that the Take the Long Road has 1.6 million.
Yeah, but I'm still surprised that Getaway has more. I would have thought Take the Long Road would have the most, but I think Getaway is a better music video.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, as much as I like Rob's hair in the wind. Being hit by detritus.
I like hair and wind as much as anyone, really.
So yeah, my final pick from their debut album is Turn Out the Light. And yeah, Getaway might be my favorite song, but from this album, but this is the song that builds. So this was one that took me a while to get into because it starts very slowly. Just as the dance starts very slowly. So it's like, oh, okay, like, come on, guys, get to it. It's not The Truth Is No Words. Do you know what I genuinely hadn't realized until like listening to it this time? It's quite a sexy song. Like it's seemingly to me obviously about having sex with someone.
Well, it's about his girlfriend.
It's about his girlfriend. Okay, well,
yeah.
Fucking good on you, love. Like, I hope you were getting it good, because really, again, I was like, this is such a kind of artful song, because it builds and it slows down, and then it builds and it slows down once again, and the guitars are so goddamn sexy. The bass and the drums are much more subtle in the beginning than other songs. Okay, then it starts speeding up in the second section. Once again, you've got an organ in bits and a xylophone in other parts when you're not expecting it. I added it to my my Best Days Are With You love track playlist. So yeah, I hadn't. I'm like, I fancied Rob Harvey like a devil, but it took me to 35 years old to realize it was a sexy song, and now I'm gonna have some good times tonight. Fran.
Well, I won't be masturbating to this song. Mainly because it goes on. It goes on for far too long.
You're a 5-minute man, right?
I'm just happy to have an erection. Moving on.
I wonder if that will stay in.
No, I do take the long road. That was not even me.
You do take the long road, yeah, but do you walk it?
With 109,000 people who've heard us.
You've been masturbating to it. I'm sorry.
This is put a warning in this episode. So yes, we have the sound of a band jamming. And how do you finish a song? You go faster, don't you? That's how you finish songs. But what is interesting was I didn't know that Rob actually played the guitar until watching this, because I never saw him on videos play guitar. So I assumed it was just Adam just overdubbing himself. But yeah, watching him do this live, Rob is playing guitar, and he has to always face the drummer, because he said the drummer was so fast he had to watch him to be able to keep up to know what he's going to do next. This is quite interesting.
Yeah. God, yeah. Phil Jordan again. Just the drums are so groovy. They're so funky, and they dominate in a way that I hadn't really realized, because you often do think about Rob's melody line or the guitar riffs, but it's really, really impressive stuff. And yeah, okay, the song speeds up at the end, but it doesn't. It takes a while to get there, and it doesn't finish sped up. It finishes in this very, mournful. Almost mournful.
Have you heard the
climax.
Life album?
No. So I almost went on Discogs. I almost went on Discogs to order one of their live DVDs, because they've got 3, and just. Yeah, I guess I kind of hadn't realized that, and it's like, well, I sincerely doubt, unless they have another reunion tour, that I'm going to see them live, and it must be amazing.
Yeah, so there's a DVD of their goodbye tour. And
The Last Dance, right?
As a ticket, yeah, and they included a track. I think it's called Ghost or something, which is very good. So yeah, I mean, this track, I'm going to be repeat myself with a lot of the debut album. But yeah, it's perfect. It's perfectly fine. I didn't find it that sexy.
Listen again.
Yeah.
Lights off.
Over underrated. Sous-évalué. Überschätzt. Överunderskattad. Over underrated.
My next pick is The Left Side from Strength in Numbers, their third album. And this is one that I picked from re-listening to the album for this podcast. So I picked it because I enjoyed it. I thought it went in quite a different direction because the only thing that really sounds like the music to me is the bass. There seems to be some Arabic influences, both in the guitar and in Rob's melody line. And I do think the backing vocals at one point sound exactly like Serge Pizzorno. And the beginning reminded me a little bit of Hanging Around by the Cardigans. What did you think?
Yeah, it's definitely a departure. It's got a 90s dance influence with the hypnotic chanting sort of thing by Rob. Mm-hmm. It's almost trip hop in some ways.
You're right. That's why I like it, baby.
Maybe the chorus could have a tweak. Maybe a different tempo in the chorus, so it pops.
It's not your tempo.
It pops. Yes, that's not my tempo, guys. So it pops a little bit. That'd help it. But yeah, I think it's a great track with 3.9 thousand people have watched it.
Only.
And I've made videos of more like views.
Really?
Than that.
Wow. Yeah. Our YouTube views haven't reached that yet, so subscribe to us on YouTube, guys. I really do want to go and listen to the whole album again because I found it, let's say, easier to get into even than their first album, which is my favourite. But because it goes in these other directions, it's one that really needs more listens. I think it's not immediate.
And if there's a slight change on Babs' acoustics, she has had to abandon the lounge.
Yes, the pipes are making noise. I'm currently recording diagonally in front of my front door and a cupboard. So
do not adjust your earphones.
Everything will be fine as long as the internet doesn't drop out as well.
So moving on to the next track.
Moving on. So I've gone for Vision, which I would say is maybe the weakest song on this playlist, which in my mind reflects the fact that this is their weakest album, at least for now. And the reason why I think it's their weakest album is because it is the most straightforward rock song. Okay, there's a bit of synth, but it doesn't do much more than that. And I think the music work best when they have more layers and more unexpected flourishes.
Yeah, it's got nice arpeggio guitars to it and a nice sort of staggered bass, deeper vocals. I mean, I know his lyrics are a lot more clearer on this album than anything before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when you move from the first album to the third album, you're like, whoa. Yeah, the difference is there.
But yeah, I put down, it's not as dynamic as previous album. It lacks vision. And,
I see what you did there.
I just think, the chorus doesn't offer much. No vision. Yeah. And it needs to end a lot earlier. I think it goes on for like over 5 minutes for no reason. So
you said that, I guess, if you had to pick one of your favourite songs from this album, it would be Drugs instead, right?
Yeah, and I think Drugs, obviously because of his past addiction, wasn't quite important to him. And I think the band thought this is a very deliberate step in a new direction. Mm-hmm. Like, it's got more of like a dancey, like, rhythm section to it. It's not guitar riff led, and it has that massive chorus. So I guess the band thought it would be a big hit, and unfortunately it wasn't. And so when I first heard Drugs, I thought, oh wow, they're changing the sound. It's a positive move. I look forward to hearing what the music have to offer. And before I knew it, they are broken up. The third album got dismissed so early. I like no one gave it a chance.
It really sounds like in part it was due to bad promotion from the record label, which is such a shame. Definitely. But you were talking about big choruses, and I would say the next song definitely has one. Mm-hmm. I have gone for Welcome to the North from the same album. So this wasn't the first song they released from this album. You said it was Freedom Fighters. Yeah. I think Welcome to the North maybe even being their third single. I think this is the first song that I heard.
Oh, really?
This album, and this is my kind of anthem. I was really excited when I heard this singles. The way that the drums and guitars groove out, that's what makes this song. And again, there's something a little bit. Again, I've said Arabic in the verses and the voice and the guitar line, and again, they are the masters of stripping something down in the final verse, before the final rise and chorus of "It's where I'm from, it's where I was born." The music's lyrics, I'd say there's not, much to write home about. But for this one, it starts and he's saying, it's where I'm from, it's not who I am, but now I'm facing some questions. Welcome to the North. And then at the end he's saying, it's where I'm from, it's where I was born. So I was like, oh, is he talking about kind of wanting to escape from the North and maybe escape from the smaller town? Or is he actually quite proud of it and it's, badge of honor, welcome to the North? I couldn't quite figure that out, but just, again, as a fan of Northern boys in general, not all, this is for me, thank you very much.
So, checking the old Wikipedia, this seems to be the first single, but it didn't chart. Right. So I don't know if it was a proper single, because, Welcome to the North, no chart, Freedom Fighters, number 15. Was it that it wasn't released physically or something?
Well, again, I was still in Luxembourg by this point, so I think that makes more sense to me, because I think I would have heard that song and bought this album and then been like, oh, it isn't all quite like this.
Welcome to the North has 253,000, so for
that is less than I would have gone for half mil.
So it's just under Freedom Fighters. It's got a nice acoustic line. It's got some nice bass. It's got some nice quiet bits before the storm. I wonder. I don't know why I put this. I wonder if the chorus was written whilst watching Countdown, because you know the numbers. I see numbers.
Well, no. He's saying, the numbers. Show me the knuckles.
Yeah, but at the end, he then says numbers, because I double checked this.
All right,
see
so
the numbers.
You
I
think,
see the numbers,
Rob,
baby. I see the numbers.
Get in touch. Are you a Carol Vorderman fan? And is that why? Because this would have been Carol Vorderman.
And it was filmed up north. It's all there. It's all there.
It's all there.
It's obvious.
If we believe in one conspiracy theory at Overrated, it's the link between the music and Countdown.
But I enjoy the tom-tom drums and the big guitar lines. Welcome to the North.
So is this one of your more favourite songs or more mid-level for you on the album?
I prefer it to Freedom Fighters.
So what's your favourite song on the album then?
I would say from the second album, my favourite tracks are Breaking, Bleed From Within, so I don't know why that wasn't a hit, Guide, and Secession were my favourite 4 songs. Guide, I had no recollection of it at all until recently, and I thought, I had it on loop. For like half an hour.
Oh, so I love it when that happens, when you rediscover a song.
The production of Guide is fantastic. So they're my picks from Welcome to the North.
There we go. Yeah, it's interesting that it's a band that we both like, but we like different things about them. Shock horror, given our slightly diverging tastes. And speaking of diverging tastes, I do wonder what you're going to think of the last song, which is You Might As Well Try to Fuck Me, from the You Might As Well Try to Fuck Me EP. I didn't pick the song just for the title. I do really love it, and I think it's quite genius in its simplicity. But I do like it as a sort of laissez-faire sentiment and kind of, consent, because he's saying, well, you might as well try to fuck me. He's giving you the go-ahead, you're allowed, he's giving you the go-ahead, but at the same time there's this kind of distance of like, oh, if you want, I've got something better to do with my time as well. And given that that's just so casual, and he repeats it a lot, it somehow still works as a song. They've got backing guitars are sounding dirty and sleazy as they should for a song like this. And again, I hadn't really considered how there is this kind of slight bluegrassy guitar-y element in parts. Love his voice, sounds urgent, matching the lyrics, and the cymbals really pace the song and make the song.
You don't hear a lot about cymbals, guys. So
no, I was thinking
enjoy that moment.
I was thinking what is it? Why is this good? Cymbals, yes.
Cymbals. We have a lot of symbolism, but not many symbols in the podcast.
Better.
I hate me as much as you guys. 2001, so there would have been 18. So
my God,
quite a confident song. But then he says he lacks self-confidence, but he did say that he enjoys having something to fight against. He says that when he would go to festivals, if he saw like a big band like Radiohead, he'd throw peanuts at him.
Less respect for you there, Rob.
Just for the fun of it, because he enjoyed it. But that's us him being, a teenager, I guess. I had never heard it before. I think
seriously.
I think it predates the album. It's 2001.
Because I feel, but I don't know how. I feel like I knew about this song at the same time as Take the Long Road and Walk It, and I wonder if it's due to Kaiser or something like that.
Maybe.
Like I definitely knew about this around the time of the first album.
Well, I mean, it's only got 39,000 on YouTube.
Wow.
So it's a massive. Obviously, Take the Longest got 1.9 million. So I guess not many people do know it. But yeah, it's not my personal style. I did put down it's got more of a bluesy riff than previously. I can imagine people going into a trance whilst listening to this. I got a little bit bored. But yeah, I guess there's not a lot to the lyric either. Maybe.
No. But I mean, again, like it's that thing, right? When I'm talking about a band that I really like and have never paid attention to the lyrics before. With the music, I was like, every song I'm like, should I? No. And the only one that I really wanted to mention was Welcome to the North, because there it felt, the most statement-like, anthem-like. I was surprised that it didn't make it onto the album.
They've got a lot of great B-sides, the band.
Yes. They're not a band that I would want to sit down and like back-to-back listen to their discography. And like some of their other bands, it's like, well, that's, you really have to be in an expansive mood to do that. And some of their songs are so long as well that you're going to be there for a while.
I would say that 2 B-sides is No Danger, which is a instrumental track, and The Rain, which is the least sounding music song. But, all great bands have great B-sides. And so
as we know, especially pre-2010, I would say.
Yes, when that was
because
a thing.
These days, But yeah, obviously, I'm going to say the music are underrated. I checked their Spotify numbers. Yeah, well, let's see. How many monthly listeners do you think they have?
What's Kaiser Chiefs? Just to compare.
3.1 million.
Okay, so I would say 50,000.
100,000.
Okay.
See, I was thinking more, between 300,000 and 500,000. I think that's unacceptable, guys, for a band. But what I found very, very interesting is that we both thought that the music were bigger than they actually were. So was it because I was going to say the circles that we moved in, in the music channels that we watched.
Yes.
Was it very played? Was it because one of those bands where, again, the music press is writing about it more than the fame that they're getting, in a bit like 6Y7? Was it that happening? Because some of those stats for the videos, that really surprises me that they're so low. And the highest charting song is 14. Like I would have said they would have had at least one top 10, top 5 song, but no.
I think people under 30 would have no idea how big their first album was, and it is sad that you never hear the music ever.
No.
If I ever put on XFM or whatever, or I've never come across anyone playing any songs by the music, which is strange because they were a massive band for a couple of years.
Maybe. I feel like maybe Welcome to the North might have been in some compilation of some sports thing or some Shane Meadows, even though that's the Midlands, isn't it? But something like that, do you know what I mean?
But is it because they didn't have their own scene? They weren't attached to anything particular. They weren't new metal, they weren't indie, they weren't from the New York film. They just were this rock band from Leeds. That's all maybe I went against them.
Well, as we've said so many times before, for bands that aren't from the bigger cities in the UK at least. But it really shocks me because I also feel like they're the kind of band surely who would have slightly obsessive nerdy music fans who would talk who would talk about them, because precisely they make a kind of rock that's not a million miles away from bands like Led Zeppelin and Stone Roses that people are very obsessive about. So yeah,
there seems to be quite a lot of Americans who are big fans of the music, who are quite obsessed looking at the YouTube comments. But yeah, I've never come across anyone who in Britain who says the music is my favourite band. So
I mean, favourite band, that's a big one. But one of my favourite bands, even though I realised really putting together this playlist, it's that thing of, if you're an obsessive completionist, does that make you a bigger fan? But I was such a fan of that first album that for me, for that, and I mean for Getaway, like I said, I think Getaway is genius level. It's very rare for me to like a song that I don't get sick of, because when I get obsessed with a song, I will play it on loop for an hour or so. And my biggest memory of Getaway was when I went to Australia and I was on the bus on the way from the airport to where I was staying, and so I had to get awake, and I just put that on a kind of loop to keep me awake, and it was kind of trippy on a bus listening to the music. But would recommend, guys, for jet lag. A lot of the bands that we cover have this, but with the music I really felt more than a lot of other acts that we've talked about. So many people were like, this is such an underrated band. But I will say that the people saying that, the comments were quite old. There were very few comments from like 3 years ago and more recently. They were mostly, it was like 14, 11, 8 years ago. So it's amazing how quickly they faded from memory. And I will go back quickly, of course, to Switched On Pop, who one of my favorite podcasts. They had this guy on who was basically testing the longevity of 90s songs with Generation Z. So he made this playlist of kind of, you know, songs that I think had, you know, charted 5 or above on the Billboard chart, and played them to young people to see how many songs they recognised. And it was fucking appalling, Fran, how few songs had kind of made it beyond a certain generation. And yeah, I think especially rock that isn't as as proggy or noodly as this, and it isn't in the top indie bands, it's more and more difficult to make it through, I would say.
Yeah, I think underrated. Like, you know, having a refresh last week in London, listening to the best of my 20 the best. Yeah, there's some fantastic tracks, and you know, I had great memories of listening to songs I loved 15 years ago, and it is a shame that people don't seem to be chatting about the music anymore, and they should be, because, you know, they're 4 very talented young men, or they were very talented young men. Now 4 talented guys in their 30s. And yeah, and please, guys, if you've not heard of the music, please try and give them a listen, because they really deserve your time.
And yes, they are difficult to Google, but don't forget, as with all our episodes, and we do kind of forget to mention this, every song that we discuss of the playlist that we make is on Spotify, and you can go and listen to it.
And listen to Adam Nutter's podcast. Guys, if you want to talk about a band you loved when you were a teenager that no one's been talking about for the past 20 years, hit us up and we can chat about your bands and discuss if they're over or underrated. And until next time, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Ciao, ciao.
Hello, thank you for staying to the end. That was a fun record. A little bit sexual, so don't, it's too late to give you a warning, this happened. But if you do want to listen to some other podcasts, we have quite a few now. Some about noughties rock and roll. We've got a Kasabian one. We've got another Leeds episode where we mention Jules. Let us know of any other bands you'd like us to discuss. And in the meantime, please like, subscribe, share to people who like music. And also you can follow us on OU Music Pod on Twitter, Underrated Music Pod on Instagram, and we also have a YouTube channel and a Gmail, which I don't think anybody uses. But, you know, if you want to give us an email, it is overunderatedmusicpod@gmail.com. Until next time, music fans, goodbye.